I've never understood why people used to ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up. My answer changed daily, if not more. I wanted to be a wizard, or a tractor driver, or a Martian. My mother was a teacher, and it's her I think I have to thank for my imagination. She read to me all the time when I was young. Books and movies opened my eyes to a reality different from my own, and I've never looked back. Every night before I go to sleep, I close my eyes and I invent a world. More often than not, it's some amalgamation of several existing stories I've read or seen. It was originally for fun, for my own enjoyment. Eventually, it's how I calmed down, how I addressed my emotions. That's how I escaped.
When I was growing up, I would do that every night. I would come up with the biggest worlds, the craziest stories, the deepest characters, the everything. I would spend hours on it. And, as I grew up and things happened, one thing leads to another. You're tired at the end of the day. You got more important things on your mind than some make-believe universe. Or so I thought.
Life happens to us all. Sometimes we can deal with it, sometimes we can't. As I grew up, life happened to me again and again and again. Between my problems at home and at school, I had nowhere to turn, nowhere to run. That's when my thoughts turned dark, and I stopped imagining a world where things turned out better. I was lost. To be lost in one's own mind and body is simultaneously terrifying and tragic. I wanted to run from who I was and what I felt. So I joined the United States Marine Corps right out of high school. Alas, that adventure too ended with life teaching me several hard lessons. I had finally had enough. I wanted it to stop. Rage, fear, pain, emptiness drove me to the edge of suicide. Frankly, I'm not sure how I survived that night or the several like it life's thrown at me.
A lot of years passed where I didn't make a single story. It wasn't for lack of trying. I just, it wasn't on my mind.
But one day, I sat down to watch a movie. I watched The Greatest Showman starring Hugh Jackman. I watched a man strive and reach and fight for happiness despite what life threw at him. I watched him destroy all his work with his own hands. I watched him bounce back. And I cried. I don't think I've ever cried as much as I did after finishing that movie for the first time. That night when I went to bed, I made my first story in over a decade. It was that day that I decided I wanted to make movies. I'd always loved stories. I'd always loved making them, writing them, and reading them. I'd just forgotten what it felt like to love something like that. It made me see something in me I couldn't see before. And that's what I want to do for others. My name is Joshua McGowan, and I'm a storyteller.